Hey everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Just Cause 4. So in today's episode, I wanted to do a top 5 list of some of my favorite features that they have revealed regarding Just Cause 4. At this point, obviously, we have a lot of information regarding the game, so I'm just going to compile some of my favorite information, some of my top features that they revealed into a list, and hopefully you guys can enjoy this. And if you have any of your own suggestions, then let me know in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to this channel for plenty more Just Cause 4 content. But how about we begin with number 1, which is the map. So this time the game is set in Solis, which is in South America, which is the home and training ground of the Black Hand, which we do know from the previous Just Cause games. Obviously, first they made their appearance in Just Cause 1, and then we saw them in Just Cause 3 DLC. So they did confirm that the size of the Just Cause 4 map is the same as the Just Cause 3 map, but this time there's going to be more vertical gameplay and more detail in this map, as well as the landmass is going to be much bigger compared to Medici. Because if you guys remember from Just Cause 3, Medici was just basically a bunch of islands on this massive world. So this time around, we're actually going to get a lot more landmass for us to explore, traverse in vehicles, on foot, or obviously in planes. So this map is going to come with 4 different distinct biomes. We're going to get jungles, deserts, snow, and grasslands. And each of these is going to have 3 different sub-biomes inside them. So it's going to be kind of interesting because it looks like we are getting potentially 4 different maps all in this one massive open world. Obviously, more variety means more exploration, and you don't get bored as easily of the world. So this time around, obviously, the map is going to have more depth to it and more detail. We're gonna have, like they said, vertical gameplay, caves, cave systems, tunnels, which encourages player exploration. Because one of my biggest gripes with Just Cause 3 was that the map, yes, it was beautiful, it was massive, it was gorgeous, but there wasn't really much to do. The player was simply drawn towards bases, towards cities, because those were the only points on the map that you could really interact with, and you can use, obviously, the whole destruction of Just Cause to have fun. So this time around, it does look like the cities and towns look more detailed and populated, so hopefully we're gonna see more of them as well, which basically means that the player is going to be able to interact with the world a lot more. So they did talk about also the enhanced physics that are going to be taking place on the map. You're going to have gusts of wind, which obviously is going to enhance the wingsuit gameplay, as well as enhanced destruction, which is going to look absolutely incredible. I just feel like this map does look pretty gorgeous and spectacular, and thanks to obviously the Apex engine, it does look pretty smooth as well. So I'm just kind of very excited for this. I just hope we're not going to see too many just open spaces where there isn't really much that you can do. Obviously, open spaces is still nice to, for example, setting up stunts and whatnot, and little game modes for yourself, but for the most part, I just hope we see a lot more detail and a lot more places for the player to interact. So now let's talk about my second favorite feature, which is the variety of vehicles and weapons. Obviously, more vehicles and weapons means more long-term fun because you've got more vehicles to learn, to find, explore, and just have fun with. So I think this time around they are really doing a good job putting more emphasis on those aspects of the game. So the weapons now have different firing modes, giving them more character and variety, and I do have to say that the guns do seem to have more of a punch to them. Obviously, having different characteristic is going to enhance the gameplay because you won't get as bored. I mean, the Just Cause 3 weapons weren't the best. You did have like a fairly large variety of them, but all of them just kind of felt the same. If you had an assault rifle, it kind of felt the same to all the other ones. Obviously, you had the burst fire mode and just regular auto fire. All the sniper rifles felt very similar. The only difference really were the sound effects and the look, but this time it does look like the weapons are going to feel different to the player, which is just a really welcomed addition to the Just Cause franchise. So they did actually confirm that aiming down sights has been added for the first time in a Just Cause game. So the gunplay, I think, in this game is going to be fantastic. It's going to have depth to it, and it's going to be just simply more interesting. Now talking about vehicles, so vehicle handling has been redesigned for Just Cause 4, which is such a good thing. I do have to say the Just Cause 3 driving did have its own kind of charm to it. Once you kind of learned it, you kind of knew how to control those vehicles and you could kind of get along with the driving mechanics and whatnot. But for a new player coming to Just Cause, I feel like the driving and the flying was one of the biggest drawbacks for me. So obviously with the new vehicle handling, you're gonna be able to perform better stunts, do crazy challenges and whatnot. So I'm really looking forward to that. Also, a GameSpot interview with the developer revealed that first-person mode in vehicles is actually going to be a thing, so it's gonna make for some more immersive gameplay, which I'm absolutely looking forward to. I mean, imagine performing all of your stunts in first-person in Just Cause. I think that will look just extremely badass. And they did also confirm in one of the gameplay videos that they released that the Rebel drop is making a return. I hope it's gonna be enhanced in this game, because I feel like in Just Cause 3, it was a little bit sluggish. Obviously, you could spawn 5 vehicles, but they would despawn kind of fast if you got away from them. So I kind of hope this time around you'll be able to spawn them a little bit more easily and they'll stick around until, let's say, you destroy them or spawn a 5th vehicle. I did kind of talk about that in my Soundbox mode video, so if you guys haven't seen that, I do recommend you check that out. Now let's talk about my third favorite new feature, which is obviously the new grapple and abilities that Rico is going to have access to. So this time around, the grapple hook is going to be customizable, which is a very welcomed addition. So you're gonna have more tethers, you can adjust the retraction speed, the strength, and more than they're probably going to announce, which just means that stunts in the game are gonna be more intricate and more badass. If you guys know me and you have seen the coverage that I did on Just Cause 3, if you haven't, where the hell have you been? Okay, this is basically how my channel got started. That you guys know, sometimes the tethers would sabotage the entire stunt. So knowing that you'll have these customizable features about the tethers, I think is gonna make for some crazy possibilities that weren't possible in Just Cause 3. So I'm really looking forward to that. And speaking of stunts and new abilities, obviously they added the airlifters, which are the little balloons that you can attach to pretty much anything. So once again, that's gonna make for some creative stunts, some creative destructions, and potentially little game modes and challenges that you can create as a player. So in the long run, I think the game is gonna have more possibilities, which is gonna hopefully extend the lifetime of the game. So another new additions are boosters, which you did kind of have in the previous games, but this time around you can actually attach them at range and they don't explode, which is just fantastic. So you can attach them to vehicles, kind of modifying them yourself. So maybe vehicle customization is going to be up to the player, because you're going to be able to attach boosters and whatnot. And I imagine if you attach them at different sides of the plane, you're going to be able to kind of control it in the air using boosters, which, now that I think about that, that sounds extremely fun. And I can't wait to get my hands on the game. Holy shit. I think it's going to be so much fun with all the new sandbox elements that they're adding to Just Cause 4. So I think they're really doing a good job with this. So the wingsuit and the parachute is now more physics-based. And also from the gameplay that we saw, it looks like when you deploy them, it's much snappier and faster, which I do enjoy. Because I feel like sometimes you just have to time things perfectly to pull off some amazing stunt or some amazing challenge. So having that, how you pretty much press a button and almost instantly Rico is grappling through the sky or using a parachute and then switches to a wingsuit, I think is going to be very exciting, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So now let's talk about number 4, which is better enemies and AI. Finally, the AI is getting better in a Just Cause game, because Just Cause 3, I'm not gonna lie, was kind of simple with how basic the AI was. So obviously we're gonna be facing against the Black Hand, which are bringing in an arsenal of new weapons and vehicles to the battlefield. So it does look like the enemy variety has been increased, giving the player more of a challenge this time around. It looks like the enemies are going to be bringing all sorts of different weapons. They're going to have like different classes and abilities, which I think is going to be very exciting, because varied gameplay basically means you don't get bored as easily. And I think for a single player game, that is very important, that the variety of enemies and weapons and vehicles and just kind of variety for the player is there, for the player not to just kind of like turn away from the game very easily. So one interesting thing that they didn't really showcase too much, but I caught a glimpse of that in one of the showcase videos, was the front lines, which is kind of their new feature that they're adding to the game, which basically means there's going to be battles throughout Solis, which kind of looks very exciting. I can't wait to see that more in detail, how that's gonna work exactly. But basically what happens, your friendly faction is gonna battle the Black Hand, and you're gonna have this front line that is going to form. So I assume it's gonna be up to the player to then decide to intervene or just leave that be, or maybe take up a nice position and just spectate to see how that's going to play out. Because if you guys remember from Just Cause 3, when you leave your character, crazy stuff just happens when you go AFK. So it would be kind of cool to see that with front lines. So last but not least, let's talk about number 5, which is extreme weather in Just Cause 4. And I do have to say before I begin that looks extremely badass. It just looks epic. I think thanks to the Apex engine, they are really showcasing the strength of it with all of that physics-based weather. So we're gonna get 4 different extreme weathers: tornadoes, lightning storms, blizzards, and dust storms. Probably each one of these is going to be for different biomes, so I assume tornadoes are going to be for grasslands, lightning storms for jungles, blizzards obviously for the snowy regions, and dust storms for the deserts. So it does look like each one of these is going to impact the gameplay significantly, which is just going to make for some crazy moments, and I feel like as a player, you actually have to adapt to your environment. So if a tornado shows up, you won't be able to grapple around, use your parachute and wingsuit as much. You'll actually have to get out of there in order to survive. Because it does look like this is going to be one of the main challenges that Rico is going to have to deal with, because they did put a lot of emphasis on that in some of their showcase videos. So I kind of can't wait to see more about that, because right now they're just teasing a lot of it. In all of the showcase videos, they're just putting that at the end, being like, holy shit, boys, the tornado is here. It would be cool if it was actually player controlled as well, but I assume we just have to wait and see until they reveal more information. And I just have to say, it looks visually stunning. Okay, there's real physics behind all of these weather effects, so I think it's just going to be extremely badass. I mean, I can just imagine all of the crazy stunts and moments that players are going to have. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for my top 5 list of some of the top features that they have showcased regarding Just Cause 4. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let me know in those comments. But if you enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new to the channel for plenty more Just Cause 4 content. And if you haven't already, I do have a public Discord for everybody to join. The link to that is in the description down below, so you can check it out, join it, and we can discuss Just Cause 4. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you're gonna have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Take a goodbye. Bye bye bye.